To describe this movie in one word, it's powerful. Let me explain. Welcome to the objective review of When They See Us, directed by Ava DuVernay, and it's on Netflix. And in the objective review, I break a movie down into 6 categories and assign weights to them, depending on the genre, to have the most honest, unbiased, objective review as possible. So let's start with the first category of story.
The female jogger was severely beaten and raped.
Every black male who was in the park last night is a suspect.
The story follows the Central Park Five, which is a group of 5 black young teenagers who were wrongfully accused and convicted of rape in New York. This movie is really significant. It goes to show just how racism continues to affect people of color in these situations, that they can just be looked at as something other than human, and how they can just be kind of just villainized and turned into animals in the eyes of some people. And how absolutely the criminal justice system is completely flawed and how they were treated. This movie should be shown in middle schools and high schools. I remember my teacher had us watch Crash. Like, no, everyone should be watching this movie. It should be shown in colleges and law classes to show just exactly what that line is that the law should push up to, exactly what people's rights are. In the black community, a lot of us know that we had that talk with our parents about being black in America and what that means and how you need to handle yourself in certain situations. I think this can be a great tool to use along with that conversation. And also, this needs to be shown to other people to show, like, hey, racism happens. You know, we have all these movies about slavery, and those movies are important. They're very significant. I enjoy those movies thoroughly for them, you know, displaying just what atrocities the United States have done throughout the history. But sometimes those movies and those and slavery is so far, such a long time ago, that people think to themselves, oh, we're over that. But I think this movie really bridges that gap, saying, like, no, there are still ramifications and lingering issues that we have all the way dating back from slavery. So without a doubt, before we even get to the story, this movie is vitally important. When it comes to the story, a jogger was raped and brutally beaten. It shows that the police in New York City and prosecutors really weren't out for justice. They're really out for vengeance. And when you're out for vengeance, no one wins. And these innocent boys have had their lives stripped away from them. And this movie completely lives up to the title of When They See Us, because these are 5 innocent boys who were just happened to be the wrong color in the wrong place in the wrong time. And, you know, people just kind of project what they want to onto these boys. I mean, I've had it done to myself before. I've never stolen anything in my life yet. I've been accused several times, me and my friends, of stealing things because people just project what they see on TV or what they want to see to make themselves feel better onto innocent people. And the story does a great job of really defining who they is. They is not just white people. It's not just the cops. It's not just the prosecutors. They is really everyone, even the people in their own community. You know, once they get branded with being, you know, rapists, the way people interact with them is completely different. They're not looking past this false image that these boys now have. Everyone sort of starts to see these boys as monsters. You really go on this journey with these boys, to being so hopeful, starting at the park and everything, just hanging out with their friends, to being so coerced into going down to the police station without their parents, to being coerced into making statements that aren't true, to being just so confused by the whole process. Like, at some point, someone has to stop something. But to even go beyond the racial themes and lessons that the story is trying to teach, this story is about, I think, the human spirit, about how enduring such prosecution, such just evil turned towards your way, that you really never give up, and you're always kind of hopeful, and you always cling on to your truth, because that truth is what defines you. So without a doubt, the story was pretty amazing and pretty incredible. You wish this never happened, but it was told in such a great way. Gets a 10 out of 10. Next is on to emotion.
They saw you rape the lady.
I didn't see a lady or hit anyone.
I
didn't see any lady.
Kevin.
I didn't see any lady.
I want to see my son right now, right now.
I'm man enough to admit when I cry in movies and everything, and I cried at least 2 or 3 times. I felt just about every single emotion a person could feel watching any type of media. I mean, I felt moments of joy and just alleviation at certain aspects of the film, and just moments of triumph. But also, of course, there's those moments of just sadness, of just what's happening to these boys. And there's moments of just anger, just really pissed at society. Like you just want to do something. You sort of just screaming at the television that this has to stop. And also you just feel really sympathetic towards these boys. They've just been launched into this situation that they've had no control over. So emotion gets a 10 out of 10. That's on to action.
There is injustice happening here.
There is not one shred of evidence.
Imagine the frenzy of these teenagers ripping off her clothes.
Really, there was very little action here, but that action was still really brutal and it really served the purpose of the story. Still, not that much. Action gets a 6 out of 10. That's on the comedy.
Nothing these boys state matches the central facts of the crime.
All we need is for one to tie this whole thing together.
The story of this movie is no laughing matter at all. I think Ava DuVernay uses comedy in a few little moments, but I think they're used fairly well to add a little bit of levity to the film. I think these moments really epitomizes the phrase of sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying. So comedy gets a 6.5 out of 10. This is on to acting.
Guilty.
They're doing us like this.
What other way they ever do us?
Every single actor did an amazing job in this film. Every single of the boy actors, some of them are more child actors, they all did really well. One of my call outs is Asante Black. He has this moment with his sister, which is it's just so sad. Like these boys just want to go home. Like they do such an amazing job of acting. I think the best actor out of all of them was Jarrell Jerome. But he also had a double duty task here because you have a couple different sets of actors. You have the boys actors when they were actual boys, and then later on after the trial when they were men. This actor played both him as a boy and as men, and he does an absolute phenomenal job. Like when he's on screen, I am just so zoned into him. And the things his character goes through, he plays them up so well. He has an amazing episode that is really just all about him and his experience because he really had it the worst. This actor definitely, without a doubt, deserves an Emmy. He carried a whole episode really by himself, and he had to do so much there. He had to be somewhat psychotic, he had to be somewhat hopeful and joyful, but also just freaking scared to death. One of the parent actors I'm gonna call out is Michael Williams. You might know him from The Wire. He just has to play a couple different roles. Like him as a father, he feels so powerless. And I think that sort of mentality goes back to slave times. Like black men were slaves. Like they didn't feel like men because they couldn't protect, they couldn't provide for their wives and for their children. They were just at the mercy of the system. And it's no different here. And so his character just feels a lot of this guilt that he wasn't able to keep his son safe from this happening. So acting gets a 10 out of 10. That's on to directing.
This is my life.
I don't think we should admit to something that we didn't do.
Okay.
Ava DuVernay does a great job just establishing her voice here and really establishing the voice of these young boys who became men during this time because they've never had their voice heard before. She makes some great use of visuals. One of my favorite visuals in this film is just a visual of, one of the boys aspires to be a trumpet player. So he's playing the trumpet and he has handcuffs on him. I think it just goes to show, that young black boys have, high aspirations, but often they are held back by the shackles of society. Part 4, she completely puts on a directing clinic. I think it is so stylistic and so bringing to another world of just huge optimism and just like what could have been is just, so beautiful. The music is so great to it. Also, she does a great job using popular music. It just really chronicles how long time has gone by and just really how society has sort of left these boys behind. So she does an amazing job here, gets a 9.5 out of 10. That brings our weighted average score to a 9.8 out of 10. I absolutely highly recommend this to every single person. In the next few days, I will be coming out with a companion video of the top 10 most impactful moments of When They See Us. So please check that out and let me know what you think. Please like, comment, and consider subscribing. And sincerely, thanks for watching. I'm out.